Emma slammed her laptop shut in frustration, the sharp click echoing slightly in the small, sunlit coffee shop. She rubbed her temples, staring at the blinking cursor on her screen that had been stubbornly refusing to cooperate for the past hour. Outside, the world seemed calm, the morning sunlight filtering through the large glass windows. But inside, her brain felt like it was doing cartwheels it hadn't been prepared for. Across the room, Jake was fumbling with his coffee order. He was the kind of guy who looked like he had just stepped out of a movie, messy hair that somehow worked for him, a mischievous smile that could make any girl blush, and eyes that seemed to twinkle with some unspoken joke. Today he was holding a cup too full of coffee, balancing it as he navigated the crowded shop. And then, disaster struck. His foot caught the corner of his own backpack. The coffee cup wobbled violently, sending a dark brown splash across the floor and onto Emma's pristine white notebook. "Oh my..." Emma shrieked, jumping up to grab her notebook, but it was too late. Coffee had already dripped into the pages, smudging her notes beyond recognition. Jake froze, horrified. "Oh no, I'm so sorry." He grabbed napkins and rushed over, his face a mixture of panic and embarrassment. "I didn't see you there. I swear I wasn't trying to..." Emma took a deep breath, trying to contain her frustration. "Well, congratulations, you've just turned my research notes into a modern art piece," she said, her voice tinged with sarcasm, but also amusement. She couldn't help but notice the sheepish grin that accompanied his apology. Jake knelt down, trying to blot the coffee from her notebook. "Okay, first of all, I'm mortified. Second, let me make it up to you. Coffee's on me?" "I insist," Emma raised an eyebrow. "You spilled coffee on my notes and you're buying me another coffee?" "Yes," he said earnestly, "and maybe a cookie too. I feel like that's the minimum acceptable compensation." Despite herself, Emma chuckled. Something about his awkward charm and the ridiculous earnestness of the offer made her lips twitch into a smile. As they settled at a small table near the window, Emma noticed Jake's eyes darting around the shop nervously, as if he wasn't entirely sure what he was supposed to do in the next 5 seconds. "So, are you always this clumsy?" Emma asked, leaning back in her chair, arms crossed but still smiling. Jake pretended to look offended. "Clumsy? Me? I prefer the term accident-prone with flair." Emma rolled her eyes but couldn't hide the laughter tugging at her lips. Accident-prone with flair? That's a new one. I like it. They ordered their drinks, Emma's usual latte, and Jake, after much deliberation, settled on a mocha that was suspiciously close to spilling again, and began talking. At first, it was casual chatter. The weather, the traffic, the eternal mystery of why the barista always misspells names on cups. But slowly, their conversation shifted. Flirty remarks began slipping in unnoticed, light teasing exchanged effortlessly. "So, you're a writer?" Jake asked, nodding at her open notebook. "Yes," Emma replied, "but today, apparently my words are less important than your coffee." Jake smirked. "Fair enough. I'll try to keep my beverage disasters to a minimum from now on." "Maybe." Emma laughed, and it felt easy, comfortable, dangerous in a way she couldn't quite explain. Over the next week, Emma found herself returning to the coffee shop more often. And conveniently or not, Jake was always there. Sometimes it was sheer coincidence, other times, she wasn't so sure. Each encounter brought small sparks. A teasing remark here, a playful challenge there. "Bet you can't guess my favorite coffee," Jake said one morning, sliding into the seat opposite her. Emma raised an eyebrow. "And why would I care about that?" "Because," he said, leaning forward conspiratorially, "if you guess wrong..." "You owe me a cookie," Emma laughed. "All right, you're on. And if I guess right?" Jake pretended to think deeply. Then, "I'm impressed and slightly terrified by your psychic abilities." By the end of the week, Emma realized something startling. She looked forward to these small, unpredictable encounters more than anything else in her day. She could not, for the life of her, admit that the thought of him made her heart beat a little faster, nor that his teasing smile left her thinking about him long after she left the coffee shop. One afternoon, the teasing escalated into full-on playful chaos. Jake had somehow convinced Emma to participate in a coffee taste test challenge, a ridiculous contest where each had to guess the flavors in mystery lattes. "You cheated last time," Emma exclaimed, holding her cup dramatically. "I did not," Jake protested. "I have a finely tuned palate." It's science, Emma snorted. Science, huh? You mean your I hope she likes me theory? Jake laughed, but then, in the heat of their playful argument, Emma's chair tipped slightly backward. Jake caught her just in time. Their eyes met. The coffee shop seemed to fade around them for a second. Heartbeats, laughter, and the faint aroma of mocha. And then Emma looked away, pretending nothing had happened. See? All part of the experiment, Jake said quickly, trying to mask his sudden awareness of how close they were. Emma smiled faintly, shaking her head. Right, experiment. Not everything was smooth. One rainy afternoon, Emma saw Jake laughing with another girl outside the shop. Her stomach twisted. Why did it sting so much when she hadn't even admitted her feelings yet? Jake noticed her sulking when she walked in. Hey, what's wrong? Emma shook her head, forcing a smile. Nothing, just work stuff. Jake frowned. You're lying. Tell me, Emma sighed. I just saw you with someone else. It made me weirdly jealous. And I hate that I felt that way. Jake blinked, then laughed softly. Jealous, Emma? I'm glad you told me. And for the record, she's my cousin. I swear, Emma groaned. Of course she is. Of course. They laughed together, the tension melting away. But the moment had forced them both to acknowledge something neither wanted to say out loud yet. A week later, Jake left a note on Emma's coffee cup. Use me extra coffee? Emma read it and couldn't help but laugh. The note was silly, playful, but it made her heart race. She looked up to find Jake grinning at her from across the shop. And suddenly, all the teasing, laughter, and shared moments over the past weeks felt weightier. All right, she said, sliding the note back toward him. Coffee. First date, but only if you promise no more spills. Jake mock saluted. Scout's honor. Coffee date. Disaster-free, hopefully. Emma rolled her eyes, smiling, knowing full well that with Jake, disaster-free was probably impossible, but that was exactly why she wanted to see what would happen next.